Don Brockman, how the heck are you, my friend?
Great to see you,
It's
man.
great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing
You're
good.
looking fantastic, man.
67 years old. If you would have asked me this 30 years ago even, I wouldn't even think I could be sitting here.
Why? Why do you say that?
Just the way I live life. I
Yeah.
went fishing every day, 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, I never took a day off. Whether I was in Vegas or whatever, I mean, I was always attached to the fish.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been successful, and I'm still now. Like, my son runs one of the squid boats, and every morning any squid. I call it squid porn. I want to see a picture of a floater. And Paisano and Paul send them to me here with the bait company.
They're great, aren't they?
Yeah.
To see that?
It's my porno. It's my porno, and it still gets me excited. And it's not about paying the rent or paying the paychecks. It was about just the fish.
The love of it.
The
right?
love of the fish.
You've had a burning love for fishing your entire life. When did it start?
I started ditching school in 1971. I would actually walk from Westminster to Belmont Pier to go out either on the barge or the old Queen of the Sea.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Who was running it in those days?
Believe it or not, Alan Watson.
Alan Watson, right.
Alan Watson was running the boat, and yeah. And I don't know if you realize how far Westminster to Belmont Pier is.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
It was a hoof.
Yeah.
We could get the bus going home. We just couldn't get a bus going. There was no bus running that time in the morning.
Yeah, right.
But
how long did it take you to ride your bike there? Half hour?
Oh, no, shit. From Westminster, it was an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes.
That is dedication.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, and we started that, and then I graduated from high school early in 1974. I was a deckhand on the old Del Mar out of Long Beach Sportfishing.
Wow.
And it might have been called Pier Point then. This is during that lag, but
right.
I would have to say I think was Pier Point Landing. And I was on the Del Mar. Tom Mooney was the captain.
Okay.
I used to work for $7 a trip, 3 trips a day. 3 trips a day, half day.
Morning, half day, afternoon, half day, twilight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to let you guys know and the people know, guys, the middle of summertime, we were catching pacachos like this and sablefish like that all summer long. You'd throw a chum line up at Palos Verdes along the kelp. You wouldn't get a calico bass boil. You would actually have a Johnny bass or something. The water was cold, and people don't even remember. People, it's hard to fathom that, but I can remember the Western Pride with 99 people catching 1,000 sablefish on the end of the pipeline.
Wow.
That's how cold the water was.
And now those things are a delicacy.
Yeah.
And
those are all out in deep water,
yeah.
200 to 300 fathoms.
Yes, I know.
Fathoms, not feet.
I know.
Yeah,
you better have an electric reel.
Right, it's deeper than any of us fish. But
there is a private boater guy. Tell me if you believe this or not. I think the guy's telling me the truth. He's showing me the photos and everything. 6-7 miles from here, he catches those things full speed, and he goes, "I'll take you out and show you, and whenever you want to go." And I have my schedule always.
Well,
is
it
possible? And it's not that deep. It was like, I think he's fishing 500 feet of water, something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing, because I personally have not seen a sablefish caught in less than 200 fathoms in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, right.
Remember? Yeah, they're all deep, and I mean they're just deep because of the warmer water or whatever. It was just that element in 1972, 73, and that's when there were big albacore years.
Oh yeah,
too. There was big albacore,
cold water,
real cold water. I believe the water was 58 or 59 degrees during the summer.
Jeez.
And we barely get to that now in the wintertime.
I know. I can remember those years, Donnie, and it was like the season just took forever to get going. The water was so cold, and you could not get any kind of a surface bite.
No.
Yeah.
It was, and you could catch the rockfish in the shallow water because, the water was so cold.
Well, maybe some of the people who are listening to us right now would be fascinated to know that Newport Beach was the scene of some awfully good salmon bites back in the day. You know?
And that was when I first got the sport
A little bit
fisher.
before? Okay.
No. So the sport fisher, I got the sport fisher in 1978.
Uh-huh.
I bought half of it for $15,000, believe it or not.
Wow.
And Davies Locker bought the other half. They needed a 3/4 day boat because the Matt Walsh had moved to Matt Walsh moved to Oceanside. Tom Durr had taken it to Oceanside, and so I ended up with the Sportfisher, which I had worked on many times. I had a choice between the two boats. I chose the Sportfisher because I knew it, and yeah, we actually, I can still remember 1978 or 79 catching 40 to 50 pound albacore on the 14-mile bank with the Sportfisher instead of rock cutting. Our first day that we caught them, everyone was fly lining anchovies with their fucking Dacron, excuse my language, with the Dacron. And, we caught 4 or 5. And the next day we told the people we're going albacore fishing. Everybody laughed. And we had 12 people and caught 45 fish. And,
Wow.
And
those are amazing stories.
And the fascinating part for me was the day when here I am on the Sportfisher, a 1938 round stern boat, single screw, and here's the Royal Polaris pulling up on the same school of breaking fish, and I'm like going, wow, I'm with the big time now. And back then we called Frank Lopresti God.
Yeah, right.
And he still is God. But,
right.
But it was like wow, I've graduated. We had no sonar then. We had a paper meter, and the way I found fish was you could smell the paper burning.
Oh, right.
I remember that. You could smell the paper burning.
It was starting to really mark fish, right?
Start mark fish. You could smell it. You could look down then, and so the rest of the time you could be using your eyes, looking.
That is always amazed me when you're on a local boat at one of those long range guys. Even today, when you see that going on, it's like, what the heck? Because there was a time, I know when we were in San Diego, those guys, they didn't want to be seen anywhere near a northern boat, number one, even an overnight boat or any of that stuff. But to be next to, a real local boat,
let's flip back to nowadays. Right now,
yeah.
We have the overnight boat Thunderbird with Captain Jeff Markland, who everybody knows, and he's just a hard fisherman, and he can't bring himself to fish 10 miles from Newport. He can bring himself to fish 10 miles from Oceanside or 10 miles from Dana Point, but when the fish are 10 miles from Newport, in which we've had over and over again between here and the rigs. I mean, a year and a half ago, the local fleet caught over 10,000 Dorado that one day.
Oh, my God.
And I can still remember my captain on the freelance calling me up. He said, Donnie, I don't know what to do. Every boat stopped, all skiffs. I don't know what to do. I said, use your sonar. And he goes, God dang, I just started getting in the fleet and there's fish on the sonar. I stopped the boat and he caught 400 fish. And he goes, I never even saw the kelp patty. It was just such a spread of fish. It was incredible. And for Jeff to have to run all the way back from, he was on the 43, he had to run all the way back in there because every Dorado on the coast was right there outside the Southeast Bank.
What a phenomenal bite that was. Did you get in on that personally? Did you go out?
No, I haven't run the boat in the last 7 or 8 years. I just run the boat from the couch and pass on airplane information.
You still go fishing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So did you go out and catch any of those Dorados?
No, I caught them when we went out on our annual 4-day trip.
Yeah.
So that's all. I mean, I only go fishing when I'm going to fill up my freezer.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to eat them. So.
We were on the Amigo, and we were getting a pretty good piece. Not full speed Dorado, only like 8 or 10 going, really slow bite, like I'm joking. But anyway, Jeff Markland got on the radio and called Paisano, Mark Jr.
Right.
Said, get your ass over here, man. You're not going to believe what you see. And so he was kind of like, he didn't take off right for him. He kind of was trying to fake everybody else out.
Right.
And then, oh my God, it was just color spots of flatheads everywhere. It was amazing, man. That bite has got to go down as one of the most incredible bites I've ever seen in SoCal.
And the thing is, people think the fish came from Mexico. The fish came from the outside. These fish, they did not, like normally you can track fish up the coast.
Yeah.
These fish did not come up the coast. These fish came straight from the west.
Like Hawaii, are you saying?
Well, it's that current.
Yeah.
They came from the outside, in. And that's why they ended up at Huntington Beach. You know, they probably came west of Clemente and came in that canyon and came in. You know, who knows? Fish. That's what makes fishing fascinating. You know, and that's why, like, when you're talking about the albacore, you know, it's all about the water, and we just
About the
don't see that
oceanography.
water.
Right.
We just don't see that water. That water this year was what, 200 miles further south than last year.
Exactly.
So what happened? There was quite a bit of albacore out of Moss Landing and Eureka and stuff like that, and up. So is it going to come down this way further? I don't know. But right now, if you look at the weather pattern, they're getting hammered up in Oregon and Northern California. So if that weather keeps pushing, we get the benefit of those nutrients because it pushes it down here further. So who knows?
Maybe albacore in 24, man.
You know, but
Don Brockman
I know.
makes a prediction.
No, I'm not going
Right
to
here
predict that because you
on
know what?
Friedman Adventures.
It's amazing. It's amazing what has happened the last few years. Like you were saying, the long range boats, they've had to adapt to fishing the overnight area.
Yeah.
And in American waters.
Yeah.
You know, they've had to adapt to that because for the bait reason and the water temp, these bluefin have decided to live between Guadalupe, Colonet, Ensenada, 9 Mile Bank, draw a line to Clemente, out to the Tanner, and back over. And, you know, it's amazing.
It really is.
The volume of fish, to say, because when I was a kid, we didn't catch bluefin.
Yeah, me either.
You know,
once in a great while
right.
you get a pop. But
And, you know,
not like this anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but you're talking volume. You're talking about major volume.
Yeah, incredible.
Right.
Like worldwide fishery going on
Yes,
here
and
now.
then you read an article, they're worried about the bluefin because the bluefin stocks in the rest of the world aren't as healthy as this population. And it's just all about water temp, you know.
If that changes, they're gone. Is that how you feel? It's the oceanography, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Phil, we never caught albacore. I'm not albacore. We never caught bluefin. You know, this is what, 8 years now?
Yeah. Yeah.
8 years, and they haven't left. They have not left.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, right now, you could go out there and catch bluefin
I know.
right now.
There's guys out looking for them right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Pretty
mean, you got
amazing.
you got to really work at it. You got to really work at it, but there's bluefin to be caught.
Yes.
You know, wow.
I know. You talk about the long range boats, and I was always wondering. We had a trip on the Independence. Lorenzo, who's sitting there, your nephew, he was on the trip, and I always wondered how I would feel. Okay, we're going. You know, you have in your head, we're on a long range boat. Let's go somewhere exotic.
Right.
And I'm wondering, how am I going to feel? Because we're going to fish with the 3/4 day boats out of
San Diego.
It was great.
Right.
I have to admit, because everything on that rig is first class. The food and everything else.
You're on that boat as a floating hotel.
Yeah.
And they're there to entertain you. And yes, it's nice to go somewhere exotic. You know, the first thing I do when our annual charter is I walk on the boat and I said, we don't want to go bluefin fishing. My back can't handle it, and I've got no 2-speed reels, and I don't want to stay up all night, you know, doing the night jigging thing. So I just say, you know, we're going for yellowfin, dorado, or yellowtail.
Yeah.
I just want a 10 to 20 pound fish, but that's me.
Right.
90% of the public, they want a bluefin, and they want to get a trophy fish.
Yeah.
You know, I've done that. I've been there, done that, caught my 100-pounders, and I don't need to hurt like that. And I don't want to. I love these guys when I watch the videos with the guys with their knees on the rail.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just going, oh my God. Back in the old days, we'd call you a P word.
Yeah.
The P word.
Oh.
We would call the P word. Now everybody does it.
I know.
Doesn't matter whether you're on a skiff. Doesn't matter what you're on.
Yeah, do you remember those days?
Yes.
Man, you could not let your rod anywhere near that rail.
No.
Or you
you touched the rail. Oh my God, you know, I've spent $3,000. Mark Paisano. I spent $3,000 varnishing this rail. You're not coming back on this boat, you know, and I remember those days.
Heck yeah, man. They used to protect those rails. I remember Frank LaPreste giving my brother hell one time when he lost an albacore and slammed his rod on the rail, and Frank was right behind him and let him have it, man.
I can remember the comment was, would you do that to your teak furniture at home?
Yeah, there you go.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it was. And now guys have got they've got rock cod rod holders. And that's why guys didn't rock cod back in the old days if they had a nice boat, because of
They
that.
didn't want the rails torn up.
They didn't want the rails torn
Yeah.
up.
You mentioned a moment ago that you like catching the smaller grade fish. Do you have, I'm curious, because you're old school.
Right.
Do you have like the latest 2-speed reels? Are you fishing fluorocarbon all the time? Or is that all a bunch of baloney and you don't need no stinking new stuff to catch?
So, Phil, I've always said, when you're a fisherman, if you're not learning, you're going to die.
Yeah.
We're always learning. But I don't own a 2-speed reel. I own 3 4.0 jig masters, and I own 2 or 3. No, they're not jig masters. They're 4.0 Senators, high speed, and I own 4 high speed jig masters, and that's it. That's it. And I don't fish fluorocarbon. I fish straight mono. I mean, I'm still rod and reel. I'm still one of the best. I'm not saying throwing a jig or anything like that. I'm just throwing bait, whatever that.
You've got a knack. You know
And
what
I
to
got
do.
a knack. Although now with my bad leg, I have to be careful I don't cast myself over the side when you're in a ripper.
That'd make one hell of a viral video. What are you talking about?
Right. And the thing is, nowadays we're spoiled with these sardines. When I grew up, we had to learn to fish with pinhead anchovies. And I mean, when we fished the bluefin at Clemente, I can remember 10 to 12 pound tests, number 8 hooks,
Yep.
and a bobber. If you tried that nowadays, I'm going to use Mark Paisano's name again. Mark Paisano would laugh you off the boat, go upstairs and get you one of his rods and say, here, use this thing with the Spectra. But I don't, I like Spectra for a backing on my jig masters, but I don't like fishing with it because, you can't break it off the bottom if you happen to hang the bottom or whatever. I'm just old school. I just like monofilament, and I like changing my mono every 2 or 3 trips.
Yeah.
And you ask Lorenzo. Lorenzo, am I any good with that mono?
Oh yeah, that's with the mono.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
Yeah, but the thing
it works for you.
And it's funny, like guys go, oh man, you got to get down to the 20-pound mono or whatever. I just use 25-pound test, and it's all about hooking the bait and
choosing a good high bait, which we say over and over again, but it's so important.
Dude, it's all about the bait,
Yeah.
the presentation. But you got to remember, I learned to fish with an anchovy. And because of that, I'm 10 times better at casting a sardine. But man, I can remember trying to cast those anchovies when those albacore were boiling on the corner, and you're trying to get them outside of next to the boat, because as soon as you cast, you're almost right back on the boat.
Yeah, right.
And
it turns you into a much better fisherman.
Yeah.
Something else that went on board the Freelance that I thought was such a novel approach. I think I was doing 976 tuna when you first started this. You ran these trips. There's no bunks on the Freelance. You invited people to bring their sleeping bags, and you would go, I believe it was to Cherry Bank.
We fished the Cherry Bank. We fished the Cortez.
Tell us about that. That was so amazing.
So it started at the Cortez Bank when the yellowtail were biting out there, because the Thunderbird was running day and a half trip. This is the old Thunderbird. And I just asked the guy on the Thunderbird, I said, hey, can I run day and a half trips the day you're not running? And flip-flop. And they said, sure, to make the landing money or whatever. And so, I would take 30 guys, tell them to bring a sleeping bag and a pillow, and
sleep on the galley floor.
And the thing was, most of the guys slept on the sun deck, but there were guys sleeping in the galley. But Curtis Wagner from the Pacifica, who's part of the Enterprise now, but he called us the sleeping bag barbecue special. He couldn't believe we were doing those trips. But the thing was, we had 4 bait tanks. We held 120 scoops of squid, because then it was squid fishing on the. We were the only boat that would still have squid alive at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'd catch another 50 or 60 big yellowtail up on the 9 Mile bank and do that. And we did that for almost a month. Phil, we were only charging $180 for a day and a half trip.
Wow.
Limited to 30. And this is, so we are talking, 1986, 87.
Yeah.
So we're talking a long time ago. I believe the Thunderbird was charging 150. I charged 180 because we burned more fuel trying to run out there and stuff. But anyways, we were full every trip. And then when the winter came with the rock out, guys were saying, hey, let's do a Cherry Bank trip. Now that trip was successful, but it wasn't successful because of the weather. Because if we were going into any kind of weather and those sleeping bags would get wet.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it wasn't as comfortable of a trip, but we still ran them and the people loved them.
And they went into that with their eyes wide open, right?
Well, they knew what they were getting into.
Yeah.
They wanted to fish. They wanted to fish the boat and they wanted to fish with me, and God bless them. And I wanted to fish. I'm a fisherman. And I don't want to use the word kill, but basically that's what we were doing. We were going somewhere to catch a limit of fish.
Yeah.
And they were big.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And guys still talk about those Cherry Bank trips.
Heck
because,
yeah.
oh my God, did we have some cow cod fishing,
Like on a single trip, how many cows?
70 to 80.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And guess what? We fished on the anchor. Nobody else does that.
Wow.
So that's how I could fish 30 people.
You all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd fish this deep water spot in 125 fathoms because we were always anchored
in 125
because we mastered the oil rig. So that was the thing that actually paid for the freelance was the yellowtail when they were at the rigs in 1984.
Oh, right.
1984 for the next 5, 6, 7 years after that. And
now, for everybody who's out there, you're talking about the local rigs there.
I'm talking about the rigs that are 10 miles off of Huntington Beach.
And it was full speed yellow fishing.
It was full speed. The yellows were living there. It was incredible. And we could go there with squid in November when the water was cold and still catch them. We wouldn't land very many because they were in there tight on the rig. But yeah, it was pretty incredible fishing, and it was every day. And you had to have position alpha, and a lot of guys, especially on the deep rig. The deep rig was 110 fathoms. Most boats can't anchor there. The double rig, which was the one that held the most volume of yellowtail, was God, if I remember right, 20, 35, probably 240 feet.
Okay.
So it wasn't as deep as the other ones, it was all about, we called it position alpha.
Yeah.
If you got position alpha, your chum went back towards the rig and the fish would come to you out of the rig.
And if you were not in position alpha, you're out left field, not catching.
left. You were watching.
So how many times did you butt heads with other captains? Like you're arriving at the same time and you both want position alpha. Did that happen very often?
Well, it was a matter of anchor, and more as the conditions changed. You had to try to stay ahead of the conditions and just be always thinking. And believe it or not,
Oh, so you're changing positions.
Yeah,
Position alpha changes maybe hourly.
minutes.
Wow.
As the current or the wind changes, your lines had to be going towards the rig. If your lines weren't going towards the rig, you weren't fishing.
Yeah.
And when you had to get yourself at least 150 feet from the rig, because otherwise you'd lose every fish in the rig. So, yeah, it was all about positioning. And yeah, an 80-foot boat is hard to position. As I don't know if you could do it nowadays with the small boat fleet.
I was going to say, well, there was a lot of pots in those days too, but not like today.
Not like today.
Yeah.
And actually, we were just having a conversation. A lot of these pots, they don't have to anchor now. They could use spot lock. I don't want to call them pots. Small boaters.
I know.
Small boaters.
I started it.
None of us own the ocean, but the small boaters have to remember that we are working and making a living, and you guys are recreational, and everybody has the same rights to catching the fish. So just be courteous or whatever, and just try to stay out of the way. The only guys I get upset with are the guys that try to troll around you. That just doesn't work. If they anchor up or have their spot lock or whatever and fish in the current like us, no problem.
Good.
But the guys that troll around with the
Run for your
rapalas,
chum line.
back and forth through the birds, they're defeating the purpose for everybody.
How do you handle that? Or how did you handle it in the day? Did you get on the PA?
Back in the day, it was yelling and screaming, and Corby was my master. He was, I don't want to call him the master baiter, but he was the trimmer. Corby learned from me. And
Corby Jackson.
Corby Jackson.
Yeah.
And, now he's a bait hauler. But Corby would turn around to me when I'd be up there just shutting the engine down, and he would give me the signal alpha. He would actually show it to me from the bait tank. And that meant I needed to get my pliers and my boots on because we were going to get busy.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, when he knew we were position alpha, because he knew that, everything was perfect. Because that first 15 minutes when those fish bit, that made or broke your trip because, nobody, people weren't ready for it. No matter how many seminars you do, but back then, the freelance had 60, 70 people. We didn't know about limited load trips until the last 7 or 8 years. We never did any of those special for those local trips.
Yeah.
We never thought people would
just
pay
pack
extra
them on,
money.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I can never forget, I had 90 people one day. We got 4 tanks of sardines from the bait boat. We call them bow hunks. Okay. We're fishing the rigs, so it's okay. 4-0 hook. Well, the spinning people had no chance. But I can still remember we caught 89 yellowtail for 90 people.
Wow. Nice.
It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't have one bait left because the baits are so big. It's just the people running through the bait. And the reason that day we had position alpha was because all the San Pedro boats only had pinhead baits, and we were the only ones that had sardines that day, and they were the big ones. But anyways, the guy comes up in the wheelhouse. He says, "Okay, Captain, God, great day, man. Unbelievable for a 3/4 day
This
trip."
is a passenger talking.
This is a passenger. Yeah. Okay, I've got my couple of kids with us. Can we go catch some sand bass now so we can, catch something for them now? And I fell on the deck. I fell on the deck and I went, "Oh my God, we have no bait left. How do you expect me to do this? You just had a great day. You just told me that. It's going to take the crew 4 hours to clean the fish, and we're supposed to be back in." It was a 5 to 5 trip.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be back in at 5 o'clock. So what did I do?
What did you do? You went sand bass fishing?
Pulled the anchor. I went to the pipeline. We filleted fish on the pipeline and not threw any carcasses over, and used the yellowtail bellies for bait for the guys to fish. We caught about 45 bass while we were sitting there.
Oh my God.
And I would have never done that. I would have just idled home. So, I found out we could, give the people something to do while we're cleaning fish, because people do get a little disturbed when you're spending 4 or 5 hours of the day cleaning fish. But, you have to clean the fish before you get in the harbor. It doesn't matter what boat you go on, unless you're on a 2 or 3 day trip out of San Diego and you have Fisherman's Processing or one of those people that are going to clean your fish for you. So, but on the sport boats, the day boats, we have to clean the fish before you get in the harbor.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, big tickets.
Yeah. Right. How about some of the sand bass and barracuda bites back in the day? Man, oh man, do I miss that. I mean, the consistency of it. It would go on for months, it seems like. Just as good as you could possibly want it. Incredible. And will we ever see it again, Donnie?
Well, I was happy to see the sand bass this year.
Yeah, right.
This is the best. They were actually seeing the schools. We had about almost 2 months this year.
Yeah.
A month and a half.
It was very encouraging.
It was very encouraging. The only difference was they weren't in the mud. They were on the spots of the hard bottom. So they weren't in the mud, which is the normal sand bass. Now the sand bass with the migratory up in Ventura and Santa Barbara, the bite they had up there was in the mud, and they don't fish them that hard. So I think it was very encouraging. There was none down below Dana Point with that clam bed area.
Yeah, that dried up for just...
I mean, there's been none for years.
Yeah.
I know Joey Helgrim and Mike Hansen of Dana Wharf. Joey Helgrim owns Oceanside Sportfishing. They think it has to do with the San Onofre being turned off and the Camp Pendleton dumping their sewer in 20 fathoms of water that has caused silt on the bottom. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
We don't know, but this is the first encouraging year where we've actually seen the sand bass again. But going back to 1984 to 1990, we just didn't catch 500 sand bass a day. The fleet was catching 3 to 5,000 a day. And I'm talking about every day. It was so good that the midnight boats, the Thunderbird, the First String, the Eldorado, the Tornado, they would stop at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Catch our limits as
catch a
salmon.
limit of sand bass, and head for Catalina for the rest of the day to try to catch a yellowtail or something
How
like
the
that.
heck can you beat that? You're going with,
Right.
you're already
So,
done.
and you're talking about the barracudas. Some days, the freelance, we'd have our 70 or 80 people. There was days where we catch 500 to 600 sand bass and 300 to 400 barracuda and never move the boat. You know, I mean, it
It's
was
just amazing.
right.
Yeah.
And that was all in the mud. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
It was all in the mud. It was strictly sonar. And this is the first year the guys have seen the fish on the sonar. I mean, the fish were in, I don't like to use the word tons, but there were schools of 10 to 20 ton of sand bass, especially on the east end of Horseshoe, on the hard bottom spots.
That's great.
You know, and that means and all that spawn, all that stuff. The only thing that's weird is like the calico bass and the sand bass. We've had this 14-inch size limit that was supposed to bring us a lot more spawning and more fish.
Yeah.
Well, we're not seeing it.
Yeah.
You know, and the fish are either, they're not 14 inches, they're either 15 or 16 inches. Same thing with the calico bass. You know, you're not sitting there. Remember when it was 12 inches, we were always like measuring and measuring and measuring?
Yeah.
You don't see that with the 14 inches. I don't know why. I mean, it's supposed to.
It's weird, right?
Right, because this has been 7 or 8 years. Lorenzo, maybe you can answer that. How long has it been the 14-inch size limit?
Definitely, I think about 7 years. Because
Okay, well,
when I first started going, when I was really young, going with you, we'd go to Catalina and we get the small one, like the 12 inches, pretty regularly.
right.
And you'd measure them, you'd see them, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
you get the 14 inches, a little harder to find.
Yeah, my fingers and thumbs would wear out measuring
My
calico
God,
bass
I know.
at Catalina. It's like this. Oh man, can you make this one work?
Yeah, right.
And now, because we're all conservationist or whatever, now if it's even borderline, they throw them back because, you know, for one thing, they don't want a ticket and they want the fish to spawn.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just it's like the sculpin. Everyone's going, oh my God, there's a size limit on sculpin. Well, you're not going to get any meat off that sculpin anyways. You know, let them grow up, let them spawn, and you know, and it's a great world out there, and we do need to take care of our oceans, and it's amazing. Like for me, for Newport Harbor, when I started in 1976 in Newport Harbor, the bait wouldn't even live in the harbor. It was so polluted.
Wow.
Yeah. Now we have sardines in the harbor. We have everything.
Everything is improved.
Everything is, you know, they've kept the harbor dredged out so the water flows in and out. And we've stopped whatever the DDT, whatever was going down. We know we're all aware of it.
Yeah.
But we've actually helped the
A lot.
ocean.
A lot. Yeah.
And it's all about. I mean, look at this lobster fishery.
Yeah.
I mean, freaking! I had 10 lobster for dinner that my deckhand caught 5 minutes from the harbor at the breakwater the day before Christmas. I mean,
Wow.
Anybody that knows what they're doing right here at the San Pedro breakwater could catch their limit of lobster pretty easily.
That's pretty great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just another signal that the ocean's alive and well, right?
Yeah, exactly. The ocean ain't dead.
No.
I just hate that. Oh, fishing was better. Fishing has changed, you know. And I think it's funny with all this conservation, like this rock cod and stuff like that. The fishing game's worried because we're catching too many red snapper. You know, back when we fished rock cod, and I went to the Cherry Bank, we caught very few red snapper. We caught chili peppers, we caught Floridas, we caught the cows, we caught salmon grouper like up the gazoodles.
Giants, too, like
and
12-pounders.
Yeah, we caught salmon grouper right out here in the salmon groupers at Portuguese Bend. I forget what that one spot was off of Marine Land, and we'd catch hundreds of baby groupers, you know, little 12, 13 inches. We never caught reds. Now you go there, you catch reds. Well, now the fishing game is worried we're catching too many reds. It's just the cycle. the Reds have taken over because they're aggressive, and we had those closures for that long time. So what does the ocean do when you don't? It
does.
And I mean, it just like you leave it alone. That's why I don't have a problem with a 2-month January and February rock cod closure. I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with all these different 50 fathoms and all this stuff. Just close it down for a couple months, let them spawn, and the ocean will take care of itself.
Yeah. How do you feel like the Department of Fish and Wildlife, are they doing a good job? Are they doing a poor job? What's your opinion of those guys?
The Fish and Wildlife is doing the best job they can because it's the best science available. They don't have the money.
They don't.
They don't have the money to actually go see. Like they were worried about all the whitefish we were catching. Well, you shut the fishery down to outside of 20 fathoms. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, the last few times I ran the boat, I couldn't believe anywhere you stopped at Catalina, you could catch 4 at a time on the Lucky Joe whitefish. Like I never saw that as a kid, So, but
it changes, right?
It changes, but
totally does.
The fishing game doesn't have any money to study anything, whether it's the sardines or the rock cod or anything like that. So they can only go by the best available science,
which sometimes is very poor, but it's what they've got. The best.
You know why the cow cod were shut down originally?
No.
Very few people know this information. They shut the cow cod down for their 33 years because that year it was an El Nino and we all fished tuna. Everybody, the 3/4 day, half day, everyone was fishing tuna. So we went from catching 3,000 cow cod in the Los Angeles Times fish count. That's what their best available science was.
Okay.
There was no cow cod reported for 6 months.
Oh my God, they're extinct. That's why.
And here we go. They shut us down. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
The Mako's got a head on them.
Don't let that thing bite you.
No, I know that thing's wicked. That thing is wicked. Friedman Adventures. But yeah, and I mean that was their best available science. Yeah. And that's the I don't want to say stupidity, but that is a federal law that they have to base fisheries on the best available science.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was the Los Angeles Times. Well, now as we all know, the Los Angeles Times is gone, and that's why Friedman Adventures is thriving because people can't get information anymore. So we always would do this with the LA Times. We'd get a catch of fish, and we knew for the next 5 days we'd be sold out from that catch of fish.
Absolutely, yeah.
But nowadays, you're going to be sold out the minute you report it to the internet.
Yeah.
And boom, it's out there.
And people are jumping on it
right away. People are jumping on there, and that includes the skiffs, that includes the yachts, that includes everybody, because everybody wants to do what? Wants to go fishing.
Fish. Yeah.
They want to go fishing.
Yeah.
They want to go when the weather's good and
the fish are nibbling a little bit.
Yeah, the fish are nibbling.
100%. Yeah. Do you think fishing is different now or better now than when you were a kid? Because
remember I told you it was rock cod when I was a kid.
Me too.
We were fishing rock. I was making, and by the way, when I made the $7 a day for working the half day boat, 3 trips a day, I was making $100. So this is 1972.
On the side?
$150 a day in side money.
Wow.
And when I was done, I had $33,000 in a savings account, which is what allowed me to buy the Sportfisher and be able to, paint it and start the business.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean that $33,000 back then was a lot of money.
Yeah, especially at $150 a day, because you've got to protect that. You've got to have some foresight.
Wait a minute. I wasn't chasing girls.
Right.
I wasn't smoking pot. I wasn't doing anything except what? Fishing. That's all I did from when I was 16 years old on is fish. And right now, while I'm living in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, I've got a pontoon boat. My wife, every night when we go to sleep, goes, "Are you going fishing in the morning?" I said, Yeah? Do you have something for me to do? No, I was just wondering if you're going fishing in the morning.
Do you fish almost every morning?
Every morning, as
Tell it.
long as the wind's not blowing. As long as if the wind's not blowing,
And it's
because
going
I'm
to be
going by
miserable.
myself.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's miserable. I mean, the other day it was 48 degrees and I'm all bundled up, and I knew I had to run 20 miles down the river to find the shad where the stripers were. And I'm a striper junkie.
You are?
I'm a striper. I love fishing stripers because it's like chasing bonita in the ocean or tuna or yellowtail, because it's all bird schools.
Oh, that's fun.
It's all
visual.
like, I've got 2 sets of freaking binos on my boat, one for me and if somebody happens to go with me.
Go with you, yeah.
You know,
And so, and they're good eating, right?
great eating. I
Yeah.
throw back 90% of them, only when the wife tells me, okay, fish tacos today.
Yeah, right.
So, because they're excellent for fish tacos.
Any tips for our striper fans out there who want to catch a striper and they're on a lake, whether it's Pyramid or they're going to Havasu?
Well, I can tell you at Lake Havasu, for me, it's not about sitting there watching the meter. It's about finding the birds. And it might take 2 or 3 hours to find them. Exactly how I ran the freelance when I'd go to Catalina. I would start at the east end and look all the way up. I wouldn't stop the boat till the sonar cackled me. So at Lake Havasu, it's what I see with the birds. So I'm looking for bird school or breezers. And right now it's bird schools, and you know, we caught
Tino Valentine was just with you,
yeah,
wasn't he? Yeah.
yeah. Tino loves it there. But we caught 25 nice stripers up to 8 pounds the other day, and one 20-pound flathead catfish, and that was all on the iron.
Oh.
Now wait a minute. So you know how you get tennis elbow?
Yeah.
I've got casting elbow because I'm using a spinner, and it's probably 100 casts a day. And, you know, like I said, you've got to stay, you can't be on top of them, just like the tuna here. You got to be on the edge of the fish, casting into the boils. And it's fun fishing.
Man, that sounds like every morning you're motivated to go out and do it again. Huh?
Every morning. And I mean, the thing is, right now it's a 25-mile run. So that's 30 minutes full bore, but when it's 48 degrees.
Yeah, it's a little chilly.
It's a little chilly. And the funny thing is, I took my brother-in-law the other day, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And he texts me. I said, we're leaving at 7 o'clock. 7:01, I get in the car with my cup of coffee, like you with your morning briefing. And I look at my phone. He says, it's too cold. I'm getting back in bed. I called him up and I said, listen, sucker, I'm up. I'm drinking coffee. You're going. Get your butt moving. And I went and picked him up. And he high-fived me and thanked me. And he says, Don, I can't believe it. You kept us on the fish all day. And we moved almost 4 miles. We stayed on the fish. And then it was, both the wives said, you got to be in by noon, because I had to pick up the tacos at 1 o'clock at the Casaneria. And it was 10:30. And Larry looks at me and says, Don, we better get going. I says, just one more fish. And then on the way home.
How many times have I heard that?
Yeah,
in my
just
life?
one more fish.
Yeah.
Just one more. And on the way home, I found a bird school, and I drove halfway past it. It was in a cove 10 miles from home. And I see it, and I see it, and then I see it, and I go, Larry, I'm sorry. I got to stop. We were home 5 minutes to 12. We stopped. We caught 4 more. And then off we went. They weren't as big as the other ones, so that's why I didn't stay very long. But it was cool to find the fish somewhere else, because all the shad, it was fascinating to watch. They came into the river about October 1st at the mouth of the river on the north end, where the Colorado River dumps into Lake Havasu.
Yeah.
They stayed in the basin, that whole center part, for almost a month. And there was just bird schools everywhere and breaking stripers. And then they just moved out of there and they just kept going down the lake. And now they're all down at the very end of the lake.
Can you throw like a saltwater lure on those things? And
That's what we're using. We're using.
No, you sound like a tatty, are you?
No. You can use it. You can use a topwater tatty when the fish are breaking right on the surface.
No, about a 45, like? Or
yeah,
no?
you could use that, no problem.
Yeah.
The best thing we found is the little Castmaster chrome jigs.
Yeah.
That are about 3/8 of an ounce.
Yeah.
You let them sink to the bottom, yo-yo them a little bit, and then wind. And usually they bite them on the yo-yo, but you're fishing anywhere from 15 feet of water to 40 feet of water. So the secret is to let it sink down, and they're biting those rubber the rubber lures with the hammers with the white tail,
the fluke, the white fluke lag.
Yeah. And they bite those real good. I'm just not a good rubber fisherman. I'm better with the jigs and I've got 8 poles that are rigged up. My wife walks on the boat and she goes, "You only need 1 pole. Why are there?" I've got 8 poles rigged up with 8 different lures on them, and it just. I told my brother-in-law, "You don't need to bring your rod. Just use mine."
Show up.
And he, he wailed on him. I caught a limit. I catch what I do, Friedman, Phil. I catch a limit of fish and I go home. Not that I'm keeping them. My goal is to catch 10 fish, and I go home.
You mean catch and release? Your goal is to get 10.
I get 10, and I go home.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is something else. Hey, the odds of you remembering this, I don't know if you're going to remember this. I mean, I wasn't part of this, but a guy told me that on those overnight sleeping bag trips, there was a woman who used to come with her husband. She hated touching the bait, and she would rig her gannion with watermelon and fill it up every single time. And I'm like, what? And he says, yeah, Brockman was running the boat in those days. I think it was Greg Bates told me this. And I'm like, I got it. I can see you don't remember that, but
I don't remember.
Does that surprise?
No. We had a lady that would not touch a bait.
Might be the same thing.
Yeah. The lady that came with her husband, or whatever, and we would put on her hooks pickles. We would do anything and everything. But when you were fishing the Cherry Bank, you just had to have something to go down there.
Oh, I know. That place is
amazing. We actually even, I remember the lady, Greg wasn't there on that trip. We actually put a condom on one, and she caught one on the condom, and I said, well, you can use that one again. But it's funny. I mean, it's like when the sand bass were really wide open on those twilight trips.
Pickle, right?
Pickle chips.
Yep.
And that's when you knew
it was full speed.
They were biting. But back in 87 and 88, and you'd get those schools of sand bass, you could literally look in the water of the lights of the Freelance. The Freelance was rigged up to fish squid.
Yes.
So it was bright. We were the only one light. But you could literally pick which sand bass you wanted. And everyone's thinking sand bass, they got to be on the bottom. There was not a fish on the bottom. They were all from 30 feet to the top.
Wow.
And we were in
clouds of them.
75 or 80 feet of water. But yeah, it was just solid, like they were laying under the boat lethargic to the light. And you just cast a rubber jig or something. But the pickle chips, the galley cooks always did that.
Right.
Then they get their hamburger paper and put that on there. That was a little harder to get bit. The pickle chip was easier. So
that's amazing stuff. How about, do you have fond memories, or do you look at them as devils, those Humboldt squid when they came in? I mean,
you know what? It was the most fun.
It was fun, man. I hate to say it because everybody out there says, they wiped out the sand bass, or they decimated.
Okay.
It was freaking amazing.
I'm going to tell you one thing. After those Humboldt squid went through for 2 years, I think it was 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have a rock cod. We didn't have when they came through the first time, in fact, I still had the Sportfisher. And we were up there, like I said, remember the Johnny Bass boiling? Well, those squid, you throw a chum line, those squid were...
Oh, I remember
they
that.
They were squirting out of the water.
That's right.
But
that was amazing. I haven't thought about that since.
Yeah, they ate everything. And they luckily ate a lot of the tuna crabs too, because those fed up the fish really bad too.
Right.
But
did you?
And that's one of the things. Like right now, they're talking El Nino this year. Okay, the only thing that points to an El Nino is the squid are small and skinny, which points towards an El Nino. But there's no red crabs, because we'd be seeing them by now on the bottom.
Normally, right?
No, you'd be seeing them.
Right.
They'd be on the bottom. The rock cod would be showing them, or someone.
Spitting them out.
You'd be seeing them somewhere.
Yeah.
There's no red crabs around. So I don't know if we really have an El Nino coming, and the water is freaking super cold.
Yeah.
And I caught myself. I said, freaking this time. Frickin'.
Nice job,
Nice
man.
job. Nice job. I pulled that one out. But yeah, and but those Humboldt squid, God, was it fun. I mean, I've got memories with Tino on my Don's rig, my squid boat, his dad on there, and my son, all jigging squid right outside of Newport. We're on the Don's rig with our 5 people. Tino's there. He's got ink dripping all over his face.
So funny.
And here's the freelance with 80 people, all Vietnamese. And they all got trash cans. We sold them all blue trash cans, and they all got trash cans in the
trash bags.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Trash
Yeah.
bags. Okay, I'm 67 years old. The
No
words
problem.
don't always come out right, but trash bag. They all had blue trash bags, and they're all on the freelance. It was like, wow, what a video. We could have made a Laurel and Hardy video.
Three Stooges all day long,
and
right?
One of the things, the first time I ever caught those things running a boat, I just remember saying, if we had a fire right now, we wouldn't have to use the fire hose. We could just use the squid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
It was incredible. And for people who are listening, those things, how big did they get?
Up to 20, 25 pounds.
That's amazing, right?
And
Jules
the thing
Verne
was,
crap.
we had more snapped rods fishing giant squid than we ever did fishing tuna, yellowtail, or anything like that. The people, because there were so many, there was like 80 hookups at a time with the, because we all were using the squid jigs.
Yeah.
And my God, did we make a lot of money selling those things?
I was going to say, right?
Yeah, God, they were hard to get, and they were shipping them from Japan as fast as they could make them. But yeah, God, I want to say it's been at least 10 years since we've caught them.
Yeah, right.
I mean, even the guys drifting out there, they don't see them.
I wonder if they'll ever be back. Probably.
I don't know, but I really believe, because they went all the way up to Monterey when they migrated through here, and I do think they did decimated the population of the small rock cod, anything they could catch, because they just ate everything.
Do you think they decimated the sand bass population? I mean, there's a couple theories. It could be the Mexicans trapping on the Baja coast.
I think a combination.
Uh-huh.
But I think because the sand bass really have never come back after they were here the last time.
No, right.
And here's a great question. Because in Lake Havasu, I can show you the small stripers. I can show you the line class, the age classes.
Yeah, right.
Where can you show me a sand bass or calico bass that big? Where?
That's a good question. Yeah, where are they?
Where? I don't know. I can't answer that, but I'd love to know, because they should be at the docks. They should be on the breakwater. They should be somewhere, be protecting themselves from getting eaten, but yet nobody reports them. Nobody sees them. I've got what I call it my petting zoo at the dock there where I store my boat in Havasu.
Yeah.
I've got a 5-gallon chum bucket of Bongo's chum. I've got 500 stripers that live at my dock.
Oh my God.
But there's at least 100
I'm
of them.
gonna bring my lift pole. Oh, you got the little ones. Yeah.
At least 100 of them, and then the bigger ones are underneath of it or whatever. And
so you can see that the fishery's in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see them when there's in April and May, there's breezers from one end of the lake to the other. And some of the breezers are the small fish, and some of them are the bigger class. You just have to pick which one and move on to it, But where is the small sand bass? When I used to run the Sportfisher, the little hard bottom spots at Huntington Beach, the ones inside the rigs, 6, 7, 8 fathoms, which would be 40, 50 feet of water, little hard spots. Maybe the rock might be as big as this. And we'd stop there for action. It'd be wide open, 8 to 10 inch sand bass and maybe an occasional keeper. But I use that as a save me spot.
Right.
We didn't hit it all the time, but you could see the smaller fish. You don't see them anymore. I've had my guys look for it.
What is with that?
I don't know. The fish have to be somewhere. I don't know. You would think those small fish would be hiding at the rig. Nobody catches them at the rig because those guys cast those little rubber lures in there and stuff. You never see anything. I mean, 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches is about as small as you see on a calico or a sand bass around here. So
Where have the blue perch gone that were dominated Catalina Island when you fished there years ago? You could catch trash. I mean, I remember being a deadhead and the captain saying, "No, you cannot fish for bass until you fill that trash can with perch. Fill that, get busy." Shit, then what happened to that? Do you have a theory on that, or is that just oceanography, or what?
it's got to be oceanography. There's still all the Garibaldi you want.
Yeah.
There isn't blue perch. There's still a lot of blacksmith. There's a lot of blacksmith.
There's tons.
Yeah, the blue perch.
Half moon perch. Where'd they go, man?
I don't know.
Because that was a great fish
but
for
you don't even
kids
see them
and
at
stuff.
Clemente or
No.
San Nick or anything. I don't know. I can't answer that. I mean, but you're right. The blue perch, maybe it's part of this water thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's part of this warmer ocean conditions. I do not believe in global warming, but the world has changed. And all I care about is that we got enough water every year to turn on that faucet in California.
Well, right. Exactly. Hey, another thing you have seen the progression of is the white sea bass fishery. When we were kids, it was rare to catch a white sea bass. Now, what a fishery. And this year, along with that, the halibut bite was incredible.
Now, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Where's that? And once again, here's the fish and game. As soon as we start catching too many, they're going to cut the limit. I mean, like, what is the theory behind that? Because we're catching too many of something, we can't help it that something is running. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they want to cut the halibut limit right away. And we're catching. Yeah, well, and one thing up in San Francisco, what they were worried about is, here you go again. They closed the salmon. So they figured there'd be more pressure on the halibut, which is right. Same thing with rock cod. When they close things, it puts more pressure on other things.
Yeah.
So I see their thinking, but there just wasn't halibut up there. The halibut was just incredible down here to where you could actually make a trip out of it.
Yeah.
And we never had that back then. I mean, Russ Iser, when he first owned the first string, would actually take his 10 to 12 Iser buddies on the first string. They had some kind of rod and reel club, and he'd take them on that, and he'd fish all the beaches of Catalina and Clemente and put together 20 or 25 halibut.
That's a nice day.
Yeah, but that's all he fished for.
Yeah.
But you couldn't go back the next day and do the same thing.
Right.
You fished them out. Nowadays, you could actually fish Catalina every day, those beaches, and catch 20 to 50.
Yeah, this freaking Sean Roberts on the Pride, he's been all over. He had a trip maybe 3 weeks ago with 55 legal halibut.
And that you never heard of?
No. I mean, is this the best halibut year you can remember for a long... It's got to be the best I've ever seen.
So I've been fishing hard since 1974. Best ever.
Right?
Best ever.
Okay, good. I'm hoping
and
I'm
white
on the
sea bass and white sea bass, the same thing. I'm thinking the white sea bass, it's got a lot of help because of the gill nets.
That's huge.
The gill nets being outside of 3 miles. Remember, they're not banned. I have no problem commercial fishing, but it has to be, the thing with the gill net is it's how do I want to say, non-destructive. It just kills whatever swims by.
Right.
Indiscriminate
killer.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well, you can adjust with mesh.
So now these sea bass have a chance to come in and do what they need to do, which is spawn. And I hate to say it, whether it's sand bass, barracuda, white sea bass, rock cod, it's always on the spawn. We catch, these things are like pregnant women. They've got to eat. And I hate to say it, they got to eat. And that's why we have that one fish limit, is to allow hopefully enough of them to spawn, and then it jumps up to 3. But there's no reason, the amount of population right now, there's no reason it couldn't be 3 year round.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be 1 for those other months. And remember, they released a lot of sea bass from that hatchery.
Yes.
I know they say that we're not getting that many of them back because they have wires in them.
Yeah, right.
But it's got to be part of this. I mean, because they let them, hundreds
Zillions
of
them,
thousands.
Right? Yeah.
I mean,
Harbor holds its shit kind of.
Yeah.
Because I caught little white sea bass there.
Yeah. Yeah, they let them. They let them go. The funny part is they were looking for somebody to come to Catalina to go dump them out from their receiver there at Cat Harbor.
Right.
And we all just told them, just let them go right there.
Yeah.
Why go anywhere else? Just let them go.
That makes sense.
And they go, well, the seals will eat them. Well, the seals are going to eat them wherever you let them go. Just let them all go.
Yeah.
So they opened it up and whatever they had.
Are they still doing that over there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We just have to have the money. That's what you pay your ocean enhancement stamp for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it is weird that they don't recover a lot of those. I mean,
no, it's very small percentage.
Yes. So
remember, it's a wire in their head. So there's not a whole lot of people looking for them, but they are. We save heads, and the Fish and Game scans them. So it's less than 5%.
How do you like? I mean, I know you've noticed this, but those guys up in the Channel Islands, the way they fish sea bass up there, sometimes they run and gun on those things. You go with like Tucker McCombs on the Endeavor. It's freaking really exciting. Hey, wind them up. Let's go. Come on. I got these fish off my bow here.
Right.
He's got them on the sonar.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with me with stripers. It's the same thing.
Oh,
but the run and gun, it's the same thing. I mean, it's like...
What's more fun than that?
There's nothing, because your heart is pumping. And, like me at Havasu, this is the funny part. My wife was on the boat. She was falling asleep. I'm taking her in because she's cold. And here's this point, and all I see is birds on the other side of the point, but I can't see nothing else. I just see the birds. I said, honey, wake up right now. Get up. She goes, why? Look at the birds. Well, I don't want to look at the birds. No, honey, you got to look at the birds, honey. You got to look at the birds. And we came around that corner, and it was like you were in the movie, The Birds. It was like 1,000 birds and over 200 stripers breaking water.
Wow.
And I just took the boat out of gear, and she just sat and watched. I said, honey, get cast. She goes, no, just let you catch them. Yeah. But it's funny. But 5 minutes later, that fish moved a quarter mile. I go, okay, we got to go. Why are you moving? I got to stay on the fish. Well, you just caught one. I know, but the fish are over there. And same thing with Tucker McComb. Same thing in the ocean. But that's what makes it fun.
Right, exactly. 100%.
But you got to
love that kind of
But
fishing.
the thing is, the sport boats now have these sonars.
Yeah.
And the captain is looking at what's there. So the customer, even though just like my wife, is going, why don't we just stay here? We just caught one. Doesn't realize that the school has moved on because it's on, like the sea bass was probably on squid. So they're moving, and you have to move to stay on top of them. It's just the way it works.
Yep.
And without that sonar, the boat would have been sitting there all day and you might have caught 5 more.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's how much the sonar has, because the guys have learned to use it. Like me saying with the freelance. I'd go to Catalina. People say, when are we going to stop? Why aren't we stopping? I'm not stopping till the sonar lights up.
And they're getting frustrated, but they don't understand.
They don't understand. I'm not going to stop just to wet their lines.
Right.
Because that's what it's called. Stop and wet their lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you just drove 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
There's anticipation, but, it's just, that's how it is. You got to trust the captain that he's going to put you, he knows what he's looking at on that machine.
Yeah. Remember the days of a quadruple jig strike? You throw a scoop of bait and they're brown in the corner. You got yellowfin, tuna, or albacore, whatever. Those days might be gone because everything is on that sonar now.
Because the captain's already slowing down.
Right.
Turning on the fish.
Right. And saying throw bait.
Yeah. Before
you get a jig strike.
Before you have a jig strike.
It's weird, right?
Right.
We went from
and so whenever the fish are like on the bow, it's funny because whenever the fish were on the bow, I'd always go, well, I wonder if I should try to get a jig strike out. No, I'm going to go around them and throw a chum line. No, I'm not going to screw this up, because you don't know, but it's always nice because the jig strike, at least you get the fish right in because it's on 60 or 80 pound test. That's the thinking. But
yeah,
I don't, on the freelance, we actually got to the point where we don't even troll. When we're offshore looking.
You don't even put jigs in the water?
We don't even put jigs in the water because of that reason. We don't want to get stopped on a bonita, skipjack, or one single fish.
Or whatever,
yeah. We need volume because, now we're all limited load, so we've got our 40 passengers on there. We got a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah.
So we've got to get on a school to where they'll stick with the boat. And that's how you get a school stick with the boat. You don't spook it and you chum it, It's like Lorenzo with the independents telling me you guys had to go back and get bait because you found so much fish you had to chum it.
Yeah.
You got to chum them to keep them there.
Right.
And what happened? The boat was full.
Yep.
You filled that independence.
Trip, right?
Yeah, you filled up that independence. And it's incredible to me because that's 1,000 scoop boat having to go back into San Diego to get more bait. But you were only 40 miles from home.
Exactly, man. Nice. You went to sleep, but you wake up, you're on the grounds again with the tanks full of bait. Yeah. Like, what happened? How is that even possible?
Right. Because usually on those trips, when I used to run all those 4, 5, 6 day trips, we went all the way down to Cedrus or what's that one bay? Hippolyto Bay. San Pablo Bay was another good yellowtail spot. And that was all, day and a half to 2 days of running. Now you don't even hear anybody.
I know. Well, a lot of that stuff's getting closed down.
Yeah, so Cedrus is closed. Yeah.
Cedrus is closed. The Loop, What's with San Martin Island? Is it officially closed or is it just some...
It's officially closed.
Oh, okay. Because I know that I understand
it's a gray area.
It seems like it.
It's a gray area, but...
nobody wants...
The Sport Fishing Association of Southern California
said, stay out of there.
Just told us it's not worth pissing the local Mexicans off.
Yeah.
Because they think it's theirs.
Yeah.
And
so it's officially not, but it's
remember San Martin Islands is 26 hours of running.
Yeah, I know.
It's a long haul there.
Yeah.
But at about 180 to 200 is where that yellowfin usually sticks, which is about 20 miles from San Martin. So you are, when you're fishing there, looking at San Martin.
Yeah.
For the whole day.
But you're away from the local guy.
But you're out there. You're out there in the middle where it's usually the purple water.
Why don't you come over here and sit in here, Lorenzo?
Come on over here, Lorenzo.
I was charging something.
Oh, yeah, you're charging something.
Hey, this is Lorenzo, everybody. This is your nephew.
Yeah, this is my nephew.
And I had the pleasure of fishing with you for 5 days.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Donnie's Mike will pick you up. I'm pretty sure it will.
Yeah.
That was an incredible trip.
Oh, yeah, it was so much fun.
He's a very quiet person.
Yeah.
Well, we worked him in.
He works at the Hoag Hospital.
I know that.
And he was working the day that I went in there for a colonoscopy.
Oh, my God.
And my mom was dying upstairs. She was upstairs. And the guy didn't even come say hi to either one of us. So I give him a little razz.
Oh, man, what happened there, Lorenzo?
It's all about clearance. Sometimes you just...
couldn't get cleared.
I couldn't get... you have access to certain areas, which is why it's a good hospital. I mean...
I'm not so sure I wanted him to see my butt.
Yeah, really. He might have given that thing an extra shove, Donnie.
But yeah, the thing about the hospital is that you got to make sure that everything's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
That's how it's
you're not screwing. It's not like the half-day boat where you can get away with some stuff.
Yeah,
once
you go up into the wheelhouse and see the captain real quick. Yeah.
Exactly.
But he's taught me a lot through that, life, fishing, everything. I've learned through.
I've even given you some advice on women too.
Yeah, that too.
Did it work out okay?
Yeah.
Especially the tequila one.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes her clothes come off.
Oh,
he liked that one. So now he has a bottle of tequila in his dorm room.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that's too funny. Hey, when you look at the crop of guys running boats, younger guys, compare and contrast them to the old school guys. Are they the same? Do they have that same burning desire? Are they lazier? Are they...
Okay.
And I know we're generalizing here.
Right.
Obviously, there's going to be a guy that fishes really hard and a guy that doesn't. But overall...
I can put a guy on the freelance that knows nothing.
To run the boat.
To run the boat, because everything is in the GPS, and you just give them the script for the day. The problem...
But anchoring on the spot may
right.
create...
Okay. The problem is number one, if you don't know how to fish, you're not going to know how to anchor up on a spot. You're not going to know when it's time to move the boat. That's the number one thing. That's the thing where a lot of people, like especially when a second captain runs a tuna boat or whatever, when do you sit there and soak on a meter mark? When do you get up and run?
Right.
When do you,
That's tough.
And that's the thing that you can't teach Don Brockman. You can't teach Jeff Markland. It's in our blood. But the old school, we learned with, we had a book like this of bearings. We didn't have GPS. We didn't have Lorans. It was all with your eyeballs.
Line of sight.
Line of sight. You would leave the Los Angeles, because I ran from San Pedro here. You would leave the LA breakwater, and if you were going to the Horseshoe, you drove 140 degrees for 8 minutes, and then you'd start looking, and you had the old paper meter and stuff like that. So and it was all old school. It's all this. So the guys nowadays running the boat, everything is scripted for them, but they still need to know how to fish. So a lot of these younger guys, use the guy on the Pride. He's a great example. The guy on the Freedom's doing a great job.
Travis and Sean, both those guys fishing
the guy
hard.
that runs the Thunderbird now, Relief, Chris May, he was having a little bit of trouble because he wasn't getting the opportunity to run the boat to learn, and now he's great. Jeff can go on vacation, and the guy,
you hear nothing but great stuff about Chris.
Nothing but great. But you have to be able to. You have to physically run that boat. You have to physically know that feeling in your gut when, oh my gosh, bottom of the ninth inning, you can't give up. And it's the same way I fish Lake Havasu. I can have no fish on the boat for 3.5, 4 hours, but I'm still driving. I'm still driving for those 2 birds picking a shad out of the water. And that's the same thing on the ocean. It's amazing. I've been on the ocean. I'm going to use this school of Albacore. In 1986, I had 60 people on the freelance. We had no fish on the boat. It was 2:00 in the afternoon. I had a twilight trip at 7:00.
2:00? Where were you?
We were 40 miles from Newport. I'm
Wow.
turning for home, going, oh God, I'm going to have to call the landing for rain checks. This ain't good. And we're going to have to give the freaking jackpot money back. And all of a sudden I hear on the sonar, I hear a click, just a click. And I look, and it was a little red slash right at 400 feet on the edge of the sonar. I turn the boat towards it, and it's coming towards the boat. And I say, all right, get the chum out. And we had the jigs out, and we made a circle. We were halfway through the circle. We had a 4-way jig strike on the Albacore, and we ended up catching 60 fish. And I'm calling the landing. Tell the people we're going to be a little late. Well, we ended up not getting back to the dock till 8:30.
Oh my God!
And I lost about 10 of the people for twilight, but the people on the boat were just like, "Oh my God, Captain, I went from being the asshole to the hero in 5 minutes. I drank 24 Diet Cokes that day. You can ask, his dad was there. His dad was there. Give me another Diet Coke. Yeah, give me another Diet Coke. I mean, because that's who I was. I either ate or drank. And not drink. I mean, Diet Coke. Diet Coke. I didn't drink coffee back then. And and I always remember it. But if I wouldn't have been still paying attention when I was ready to head for home, kick it up to full speed,
you would have missed that click.
We missed that click, because that's all it was a click. Because very few times, these are the old sonars, they really weren't tuned in to see the albacore. These new sonars are dialed in to where, oh my gosh, you see everything there. Whether it's the plankton or whatever, the 16 colors, they show you everything. But back then on the old Westmar 265, it was just click, 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 and all I got was and that was it, just that noise, and it was just a little red windshield wiper. So they were very hard to pick up.
Man, that is amazing. We've been going a long time. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. One, any other captain sticks in your head as to whether he was a crazy guy or a great fisherman or a mentor of yours, or a couple of captains that you would mention in your past? That
my first, I will tell you this, that Tom Mooney was not a good fisherman, but he taught me how to treat the people. And one of the things, when I went to work in San Diego, I wanted to go down there one year to get experience fishing albacore on the Prowler when Buzz Brizzadine owned the boat.
Yeah.
And actually, no, hang on a minute. Back it up. It wasn't Buzz Brizzadine.
Pete Grossbeck?
Yeah, no, he's the one that died. So it wasn't Pete Grossbeck. It was his brother. Oh my gosh. Okay, I know I can't remember right now, but anyways, I'll never forget him coming down to the dock and telling me, he says, "Hey, I hear that you're leaving the wheelhouse and going down there mingling with the people when we were fishing the Coronado Islands." This is before Albacore. And I said, "Yeah, I'm just running the boat like I do when I ran a 3/4 day trip and, showing the people how the barracuda and bonita are good to eat instead of throwing them over the side. Well, we kind of try to stick with yellowtail." And I said, "Hey, I want people to know and educate them and stuff like that. And I get to know the people and the customers." And he said, "Well, you don't have to do that on this boat. You're there to run the boat and to find fish and stay on the radio and stay concentrated and blah, blah, blah." I just ran the boat how I knew how to run the boat.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from that one year. And you know what? It's all an education. And I love having fun with the people.
That's what it's all about, right?
So when I took this guy striper fishing the other day, he says, "Oh my God, he freaking gets all giddy on catching a striper." I said, "It's how I get with every fish." And it's funny because
that's what makes you
there's a captain of the Western Pride. His name is Paul Hansen. He catches a lot of trout on all the local lakes. He's a great fisherman. So he came out, wanted to see what it was like there. He's up in the bow of my pontoon boat. I'm in the stern. I'm like, another one on the jig, I didn't know he's catching them. I go, "What are you doing up there, Paul?" "Oh, I've caught 5. I don't know he's catching them." He never says a word. He's just quiet. And he's a hell of a fisherman. He's a better fisherman than me.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, he's caught 80, 90-pound bluefin on the half-day boat in the afternoon when nobody else can because he's got the gear.
Wow.
He's a good fisherman.
Yeah, comes well prepared.
He's well prepared.
Yeah.
And he is a true fisherman. But he's also a captain. He doesn't want to run an overnight boat. He doesn't want to get in that glitch. He likes being home at night. So
some people, it just dawns on me, Lorenzo, I bet you'll agree with me. Some people are born to be something. Mm-hmm. And you were born to be a fisherman. You can see it in your enthusiasm. Even though you and I are getting up there in age, Johnny, you're still, that enthusiasm just comes through, man.
So I was doing, I want to say I'm trying to think of the word. I was going to a group class to, I don't want to say be someone different, but to expand my horizons or whatever. And I'm sitting down there with the lady, husband's the leader of the group. And she just sat down to me and she said, "Donnie, have you ever wondered why you knew where the fish were?" And I said, "Well, isn't it because, I just pay attention?" And she goes, "Do you ever think about whether you turn right or left when you leave the harbor?" And I says, "I never thought about that." And I do the same thing in Havasu. Am I going to turn right or turn left? I bet, I know in my brain, everything's that way. And then I'll go, I better go right. And son of a bitch, there will be something there. But it was the same thing when I was running the boat. I'd be running the boat and I'd get on the P. I said, "Guys, there's some kelps outside of here, between here and Catalina. I think we're going to look for those first before we go to Catalina." And people go, "Oh, God, we're going to be driving around or whatever." And it only takes one.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
It only takes one.
Really does.
And so are you talking about just an extra sense that you have or divine providence? You think
No,
God
extra,
is like...
it's a sense.
Yeah.
It's a sense.
It's just a gut feeling.
Yeah, it's a sense.
You're blessed with that.
I'm blessed with that. And whether it's sometimes it's on the blackjack table or the roulette table, but with fishing, it is automatic. And it's amazing to me. And it's something that I don't fight. I used to fight it. Like I'd have rent rods and I'd say, "Okay, we've got to go do this because it's all rent rods. I got to go blue perch. I got to go whitefish. Got to go fill the bag sculpin." And my gut would not let me do it. And so I'd take 80 people to try to catch yellowtail. And yeah, was it a workout? It was a struggle, but guess what? We'd have 30 or 40 fish at the end of the trip, and the people were ecstatic.
Of course.
Some people got their first yellowtail.
Yeah.
And some people, of course, we do the heart thing and everything like that. Now, the crew, they don't make as much money with that. They would have made more money with filleting the other fish, but it wasn't. It was about, catching the fish. And one thing about it, I knew also in my heart that 40 yellowtail put people on the boat for the rest of the week
That's
versus
right.
1,000 blue perch, even though we would have made $300 in tips, in fish cleaning.
You
But,
can be short-sighted that way sometimes when the bigger picture with those
you
yellows.
can't be short-sighted.
Right.
It's what's around. You have to take what the ocean's going to give. And like my captains the captains still even today call me and say, should I stop for the sculpin first and then go to Catalina? I said, what time is the fish biting at Catalina? We caught, because the boat leaves at 7 in the morning. We really didn't catch anything till after 1 o'clock. Stop for 2 hours. And then tell the people you're going to Catalina. You got to let the people know you're going to Catalina because that's what they paid for.
Yeah.
So you just say, hey, we're going to stop here, put some fish in the bags. Fish aren't biting till the afternoon. And then bam. And I always love the part where they go back up in the office. Why didn't we fish sculpin all day? Those were biting. Well, you can only keep 5. But they wanted to just keep catching and because they were biting.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
What
What is the future of sport fishing in California in your heart? You hear a lot of stuff about politicians that are trying to take fishing rights away. You can talk about the fisheries. I think they're healthier than they've ever been. So from that standpoint,
I think I'll tell you one thing.
50 years from today.
So let me just say this.
Yeah.
In 1976, when I got the sport fishing was dying. Except for San Diego.
Yeah,
I
remember.
These sport boats, it's why you see all these old boats. And it has blossomed. I hope that I'm a lot a part of it too. I'm a lot of part why so many local boats have sonars is because Don Brockman was having all these catches when these other guys weren't. And even the Dana Point boats, they didn't need a sonar. All of a sudden, all of them have sonars. So we have better equipment, and the fishing has changed. We've think of these what do you call them? The killer whales right now off of Newport.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right?
Well, what the hell?
Yeah.
They're eating the dolphins.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Tell them to eat the sea lions.
I know. Get a memo to those guys.
We had 2 people on the whale watch boat yesterday come up and say, hey, it kind of grossed my kids out seeing the baby dolphin getting eaten. He says, well, it's Mother Nature at work. We can't control it. Well, could you at least not let us see that, drive away from it? Well, that's what you're here for.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, there's 150 people to go on the next trip,
Yeah.
But, the ocean, like we've had blue whales, the ocean has changed. And we just have to take it as it gives us. And, everybody was worried about this 50 fathom depth thing, and it really didn't affect us like we thought.
Seem like it.
Didn't really affect us like we thought it would.
No.
And it's a
little
controversial with the part about you can't go tuna fishing and then go halibut fishing. You just have to be inside the lines of the law. But I think the fishing game is doing an okay job, and they just need to get some better science so that we don't have these things shut down. It's just like the thing of them shutting down the sardines because there's no sardines. There's more sardines than they know what to do with. But they can't see them on the coast. They can only see them when they're outside of 3 miles. They can't see them.
Yeah.
We can. Bait boats, it's just amazing that every bait barge is full of every sardine you want, but yet they're worried about no sardines in the ocean. So I think we're finally convincing them slowly but surely. But it's tough because it is best available science. But I think there's great future. My son, I turned the business over to my son. I'm still his consultant.
Daily consultant?
Daily consultant. And the crew calls me and stuff like that. But he's doing a great job. And, he's 40-something years old, got his captain's license and turned his life around just like you did. And
fantastic.
So anyways, I'm probably the only guy I know that never did methamphetamines. I did smoke a joint when I was in Amsterdam once, but that's the extent of it. But and that's it. I just live to fish.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
even today.
I still live to fish. If you would have told me, I mean, I've got 3 spinning rods and 4 little bait casters, and I mainly use the spinners because you can actually cast those suckers, those little 1/8 ounce jigs. You can sail those, you know. So, but anyways, yeah, I think we have no. I think there's a great future, and I think these bluefin tuna are here to stay. I think that's just something. You know, I'm glad to see them being a little smaller. I was getting a little worried when they were all 150 to 300.
Yeah, like man, too much work.
Yeah, guy was the Thunderbird was in a stop for 5 hours with 12 hookups and gets 2 fish.
Oh my God!
Because when you turn in 2 fish on a fish count, nobody will come. They don't realize that you had a chance for a 200-pounder.
Exactly.
So, anyways, but yeah, these guys. I love watching the smiles on their face and them learning and them out fishing their dad.
You're reading my mind because I was just going to point to this really fine young man. I just felt so honored to meet him and his dad. We immediately hit it off on that trip. And you've given him that gift of fishing, and you've given it to all those passengers you've carried for all those years.
Yep.
And that lives on. It's going to live on when you and I are out of here.
Yeah.
He's still going to be fishing, and I guarantee you, when he has kids.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it takes you away from like the bad things. Like you're out in nature. Like even with the local ponds, like I go with my nieces and I go with my little cousin, but I wouldn't have thought about it because without him and my dad, like I told you on our trip, they're my best teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, they taught me what to do.
And it's so funny when we go on the 3 or 4 day trips on my trips and they come up. I just all the time. Yeah, look at Lorenzo. You suck. His dad's name is James. So I just bust his chops the whole time.
I love it.
I mean, he outfishes me. I mean, I only fish anymore when it's brown in the corner.
Yeah.
And then I put the wood to him, and then I sit down.
Yeah.
I get my 10 fish because I'm only going to take what I eat, just like at Lake Havasu.
Yep.
Just take what I'm going to eat and leave the rest for another day.
Yeah.
Donnie, what a pleasure. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this. I don't know how much time we've been talking, but that flew by for me. And we're going to have to do it again because
there's no problem.
We've left out a lot of stories, I'm sure.
There's lots of stories. And you know what? The thing is, they're all true. That's what it's like your watermelon story. There's other stories I can tell you, you know, our first albacore. I'll tell you this one thing.
Go ahead. Let's hit Kilo.
First albacore ever on the Sportfisher, 1938 round stern that day. I thought it was, my crew thought it was a joke that we were going out there. So you know what they did? Every one of my rod and reels, they put the frickin' reels on backwards and strung them up with the bait hook.
Oh.
The fish come to the corner. I come back there. I didn't lose a fish. I landed every one of those going backwards.
Oh my God.
It was not easy.
Were you cussing them out?
Oh, I was cussing and swearing. I was like, but those are memories that I'll hold forever, you know.
Sure.
You know, and I got every one of those. I got 3 albacore. And you know what? The Santa Ana Register, we got to the dock at 2:30 in the afternoon. The Santa Ana Register met us at the dock and took pictures. And only 12 people went on the boat that day because the other 18 said, "You're nuts." And they went on the half-day boat.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we would have had 30 people. 18 people walked off the boat. So I wanted to make sure it was on the front page of the Santa Ana Register for those people that didn't believe in me.
Yeah.
You know, and we were hooked up at like 7:30 in the morning. That's when we left at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, what a great memory that was. And to have that on the front page. Can you imagine those people that walked away?
Anchovies like that.
Oh, those big like Morro Bay bait?
Well, they weren't Morro Bay. They were about that big, and they were green and slimy. And on the Sportfisher, we had 2 tanks that held about 60 scoops. And on each tank, they had a glass thing to where you could look in there. Back then, they put it in when they built the boat in 1938. They had a glass thing. You look in there and see how much bait's in there. In the middle of the tank.
How freaking cool is that?
Yeah, I just now remembered that while we were sitting here talking.
That's crazy, man.
Popped back into my brain.
Yeah, I mean, some of the, you know, I hadn't thought about like throwing a chum circle or a chum line and seeing those giant squid. They wouldn't jump out of the water, but you like or see their tentacles.
Yeah, I didn't. we didn't say boil. We said squirt, squirt,
Yeah.
squirt,
Yeah.
squirt.
I've thought about that for a million years, man. That is so funny.
Those things mowed up they started at La Jolla and they just mowed up the
Everything.
coast. And when they were done and gone, everything was gone. I mean, the meters were blank. Like the bait boat went out for like a month. There was no bait. Everything
really?
was gone. Yeah.
They wiped out the bait?
They wiped out everything. They just mowed. They went all the way into the surf line. Don't you remember? There was even dead ones in the surf.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they ate the tomcod. They ate
Halibut,
everything.
probably. Yeah.
Think about this. When's the last time you seen the lizard fish?
Yeah, exactly.
When's the last time you seen tomcod?
Not very often. Yeah.
How many times back when the sand bass were here, we'd have wide open lizardfish and tomcod sometimes.
Full speed.
Yeah, especially when there's a south swell.
Yeah.
Where the heck? All right, those are questions. Like your blue perch. Your blue perch caught me off guard, I'm going to tell you right now, because it's just not a fish that you think about.
No, you don't, but they're gone.
They're gone. They are gone, caught, whatever. Garibaldis are still all you want.
Yeah, exactly. They make a heck of a fish taco, too, let me tell you. That was in Mexico. I had one. Never up here in California. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
God bless America, too.
God bless America,
Oh,
the greatest country anywhere. I know that from living in China, from living in Costa Rica, from traveling all over the world, man. Absolutely.
Dude, when I go to Jamaica, which we're going to go the middle of January, it's so funny because my wife always yells at me. I take $200 to $300 worth of ones and about 200 of fives and maybe 10 20s for tipping. You're not supposed to tip at these all-inclusive places. Dude, I get carte blanche. It doesn't matter when it is. Don, you need help getting up the stairs? You need this, you need that. You want the good Kahlua? You know? I mean, it's just amazing. And those people work for $5 a day.
I know.
And they don't work 8 hours a day. They work 12 to 18 hours a day.
I know.
And the funny part is, what I learned is because it's all-inclusive, is they really try to get you drunk after midnight because they can't go to sleep. I tell you, all of a sudden your fucking rum and cokes are fucking rum and just a splash of coke. You know?
Let's polish this guy off so I can get some sleep.
All right.
Yeah, I know you do that. Just one more thing. You do that. You get the good service. That is something, but you do it because you're a good person. You're looking at some schmuck working for $5 a day saying, God darn it.
We're in Cabo. My wife loves working the little kids with the chiclets.
Yeah.
She just loves working. How about 3 for $5? How about, especially the little turtle thing or whatever.
Yeah.
She goes 3 for $5. How about 6 for $5? I mean, she gets them so confused and she ends up getting it. And the little girl would stand there and look at her $5 and go, wait a minute, I just got screwed. I mean, she'd start crying. And I'd go back and hand the little girl $10 afterwards. But it would be fun. I said, honey, you can't hold. It's just the fun of it. They just keep going, and they don't realize, they know what their limit is from their mom or whatever.
Right.
And then she gets them so baffled, So, then the other one she does when we're down there at Cabo, the other one she does, your dad has seen that. The other one she does, she goes out on the beach first, and then they 3 or 4 of the guys come over to try to sell her the silver and dope and stuff. She goes, Gordo, he wants some ecstasy. Go see Gordo. He's got the money. Go see. Gordo. Go see Gordo. Go see Gordo. And I'm like, dude, I'll see you in a few hours.
Really.
It's funny. It's like, wow. All right, where's the restroom?
All right, we're never going to finish this. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lorenzo.